different kind of hustle. There's a different kind of grind. There's a different kind of mentality. There's a different kind of mouth speak. There's a different kind of application. There's a different kind of discipline that's going to have to take place in order for us to be able to see and get the results that we want to see. Now, y'all already know in this group that everything that I talk about is based on the word. So I got one verse. I'm going to make reference to some others, but I got one main verse that I want you to put into the forefront of your mind today and as we go forward into 2023, because we've already said that the goal is growth. That's our theme. You're going to hear me say it over and over and over again, and I have every intent of staying on topic. As the kids say, y'all going to be sick of me. The goal is growth. Everything that we should be doing, it should be causing us to stretch and grow. That's the only way that we're going to have impact here in the kingdom that we want to have, is to stretch and grow. Stretching and growing as parents, stretching and growing in our relationships, stretching and growing as business owners, stretching and growing in our careers, stretching and growing as servants, stretching and growing as men and women, as people, stretching and growing. And the greatest gift that we can give to those that are closest to us and around us is our willingness to continue to stretch and grow. I'm already in there, so if you ain't taking notes, hey, you already behind. So to everybody that's watching live, to everybody that's going to watch the replay, a big good God bless you to you. Good morning to you. Welcome to the Breakfast Club. All right, we about to get it. Let's do this. James chapter 2. I know y'all hear that book and y'all say, oh Lord, here you go. Yeah, James chapter 2. I'm going to read verse 16 and 17 in the NIV, and then we're going to go from there. James chapter 2, verse 16 and 17 from the NIV. Let's do this. If one of you says to them, go in peace, keep warm and well fed, but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? James is talking, and what he's saying is, hey, when it comes to taking care of people and fulfilling, the high call and the great commission, if we just use words, but we don't ever do anything, then what good is it? Then he says, in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Let me read that part again. In the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. The two words that came to mind when I read this text, and we've actually dealt with this particular verse several times in the past, but in this NIV version, it makes it very, very plain. Faith by itself, if it is not accompanied, partnered with action, is dead. So it is incumbent upon us to do these two words, and I'm using them as the title to pin to this: show up. You got to show up. You have to show up. Action is how you show up in the kingdom. Action is now a kingdom principle. You have people that get the results that they get because they are willing to show up. It's not because they're the best and the brightest. It's not because they're the smartest. But what they are is they are dogged enough to continue to show up. What they are is bold enough to show up. And I ain't even just talking about kingdom people. I'm talking about just regular old people that may not have the faith that you and I have. They may not believe what we believe, but you know what? They believe in the principle enough to work the principle of action. And action is a principle in the kingdom, whether you want to believe that or not, because James tells us very clearly here, even faith without action, if it is not accompanied with action, is dead, right? So our faith should produce something. Our faith should do something. So if we are believers and we are kingdom people, then shouldn't we be on a whole nother level than everybody else around us? But then oftentimes we're not, because we simply will not apply the principle of action. See, what we'll do is we'll sit back and we want God to do all the heavy lifting. We want the houses and the cars and everything to fall out of heaven. We want the doors to open and want to sit back, and we don't want to work. But see, I started out telling y'all, in this new season, there's a different kind of hustle. There's a different kind of grind. There's a different kind of press that you're going to have, and you're going to have to be willing to show up. You're going to have to be willing to show up. Like I said, there are people that will thrive in this life simply because they are willing to show up. There are people that will break through glass ceilings because they are willing to show up. There are people that will create new innovations because they will show up. It's people in this group that's going to launch businesses. Why? Because they are willing to show up. There are people that are going to find, their purpose-driven career path. Why? Because they're willing to show up. And showing up, again, y'all, it is currency. It is a principle in kingdom living. So if we gonna live that life, if we are really gonna be about that life in this new season, it requires that we show up. 1 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 20 says it like this: for the kingdom of God is not a matter of talk, but of power. Power requires action. Somebody say show up. You're going to have to be willing to show up. You're going to have to be willing to show up. You're going to have to show up in the kingdom. There is a world of people out there that's waiting to hear the good news of the gospel. Each one of us has a story. Each one of us has a testimony. Each one of us has gone on a journey, and you got to be willing to show up. There are some people, they waiting to hear the way that you say it. They're waiting to hear the way that you break it down. They're waiting to hear and see the way that you operate, and the way that you endure, and the way that you show patience, and the way that you love on people. Why? Because that's what is going to resonate with them. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up for you. You're going to have to show up for you. You show up for your boss. You show up in your 9 to 5. You show up and you give your best effort. But I tell y'all, and I ain't going to stop saying it, you talented 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you're going to have to be willing to show up for you. How much sense does it make? We'll show up for everybody else. We'll take a chance on a job, but we won't take a chance on us. We won't take a chance on the God-given ability and the God-given talent and skill that he has already placed on the inside of us. And show up. And show up. You're going to have to show up for your family. Y'all, it's not enough anymore just to physically be there. You're going to have to be present. Glory to God. It's not enough just to physically be there, but you're going to have to be present. You're going to have to be present with your kids. You're going to have to be engaged. And when I say being present, I'm talking about a level of engagement that you have not seen before. You're going to have to be engaged. You're going to have to be connected to the environment, to the moment. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up in your business. I know that this is new to you. I know that it's been hard the last few years. Trust me, I get it. I understand. But you're going to have to keep showing up. You're going to have to continue to perfect your craft. You're going to have to know and learn some new skills. You're going to have to learn some new skills. There's a world of information out there. There's somebody that has done it before. Ecclesiastes says there ain't nothing new under the sun. So we're going to have to find coaches. We got enough friends, but now in this season, we're going to have to find coaches. We're going to have to find mentors. We're going to have to find people now with explicit knowledge. It's not enough for them to just give their opinion, but they are going to have specific knowledge, very, very intimate knowledge of the things that you're working on. Now, there are people in your life, they're not necessarily going to have that, and I'm not telling y'all to cut them off. What I'm telling you is you're going to have to put everybody in the lane that they best fit and best suit and best roll with you. And so there are people, they're going to be supporters, they're going to be cheerleaders, and that's okay. We need those people. We need, the Bible even said that we are to exhort one another unto love and good works, and we need people like that, and that's awesome. But along with cheerleaders, we also need coaches. Every team, yeah, they have cheerleaders, but good teams have coaches. And so we need these people around us to help not only push us motivationally and inspirationally, but we also need people with that explicit knowledge. So if it's a business that you're working on and you need business knowledge, then you got to connect with other entrepreneurs. You got to connect with other people that have that type of knowledge, people that can help you along the way. So you're going to have to show up in a different way in your business. You're going to have to show up in a different way in your career. You go into your 9 to 5 and there's this term that's floating around out there. It's actually been around forever. They just tagged a new name to it. They call it quiet quitting. I declare like right now here in the Breakfast Club that the devil is a lie. Not one member of this group, I don't know what no other group gonna do, but not one member of this group is ever gonna show up in any environment and not give their best effort. That's a lie from the pit of hell, and the devil, man, listen, don't even get me started, because I almost said the devil is a lie and his mama is too, but I'm trying not to do that on this last Breakfast Club of the year, but I just had to put it out there because I felt it down in my shana. Listen, what I'm telling you, you're going to have to show up in a different way of your career, and it is not even about, it's not even about them. It's not even about your boss. It ain't about your supervisor. It's about you being a representation of God. It's about you being a representation of the kingdom. It's about you being a representation of what's possible. And so when we think about that, you're going to have to show up in a different way. There's an example that you got to set. There's an example you got to set. Because when you begin to do that, now people can start to ask you, well, why you always smile? We always got all this work. Why you always smiling? Why you always got this joy? Why you seem to have all this peace? Now you can begin to have a conversation with somebody about Jesus. Now you can begin to have a conversation, have a discussion with somebody about your faith. See, that's what's going to open the door. Your actions will open the door for conversation. See, y'all, it's bigger than just the work you do, but you're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up for your friends. You're going to have to show up for your friends. You're not going to be the person that's going to always be taking, but you're going to be the person that's going to give. You're going to be the person that's going to also exhort people unto love and good work. You're going to have to show up. You're going to have to show up in your faith. This scripture says that faith without works is dead. Showing up in your faith, God, y'all guys, has everything to do with doing something. We ain't gonna just sit back. We're not just gonna sit back. We're not gonna be complacent. We're not gonna procrastinate, but we're gonna show up. You're gonna have to show up and be authentic. One of the things that I teach people is there are 3 levels: being, doing, and having. We spend all our time on doing and having, and we never spend a lot of time on being. When in actuality, if we would figure out being, if we would begin to endeavor to figure out purpose, if we would begin to figure out that path, then the doing and having actually would be a whole lot easier. And see, the fact of the matter is, when we doing and having, a lot of times we striving and we toiling and we can't figure out why. It's because we are not being. We have not figured out being yet. So being is actually the first step. It's not the last step. We think, well, let me get the stuff and then I'll figure out the being part later. That's not really how it works. And so we got to show up authentically. We have to show up, because that's going to produce the best results in our life. It's going to produce the best results in our career, and everything that we touch is us showing up and being able to show up authentically. Y'all, listen to what I'm telling you. You're going to have to show up in prayer. We're going to have to show up in prayer. Man, if somebody else is praying for what you got going on more than what you praying for, y'all, that's a problem. So you're going to have to show up in prayer, and then you're going to have to show up, because showing up is you actively investing in the results that you want to see in your life. Let me say that again. So showing up is you actively investing in the results that you want to see in your life. There's a few things that came to mind as I wrote that the other day. You showing up is you actively investing in the results that you want to see. And one of the things, the tags that I use when I went live this morning is I said, you don't need a miracle if you're going to keep hiding. That don't go together. You're going to have to show up. If you want a miracle, you're going to have to show up. Every miracle that happened in the Bible, every one of them, every person, specifically the ones I'm talking about, everybody that Jesus healed, they had to show up. I think about the woman with the issue of blood and how she pressed her way through. And how she got there. If I could just touch the hem of his garment, she showed up. She had to show up, and that's where her miracle was. She had to show up. I think about the 10 lepers, and all they got was a word. All they got was an instruction. But that instruction, man, it had so much power in it. They thought, man, this is all he gonna say. He's just gonna tell us to go show ourselves to the priest. But they had the faith. But they started walking. Faith, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. Listen. And as they went, they began to get their healing as they went. So they had to take action. You don't need a seed if you're not going to sow it. The Bible says that God gives seed to who? The sower. So if you're not going to sow the seed, then what you need a seed. If you not, and I think about the parable of the 5 talents, when you had that one where he took the talent and he just hid it. And he just hid it. He didn't sow it. He didn't try to reproduce it. He didn't try to do anything with it. He was afraid. And so his fear locked him up, and he's like, well, I don't want to mess it up. So just let me just hide it here and let me just put it under wrap, and can't nothing happen to it. Yeah, can't nothing happen to it, but it also can't fulfill its potential. It also cannot fulfill its potential. And so again, the word says in the same way, faith by itself, if it is not accompanied by action, is dead. So really quickly, I want to give you 5 ways to show up fully in 2023. Let me get my Bible out because I need to tell y'all a couple of other things as well. I'm about to give you 5 ways that you can show up fully in 2023, because you're probably wondering, well, what exactly does showing up look like? What does that mean? I'm glad you asked, because I'm about to tell you. So here we go. 5 ways that you can show up fully in 2023. And these 5 ways are going to apply to all the different areas that I outlined. Kingdom, you, your family, business, your career, your friends, your faith, your children, your spouses, being authentic in prayer. All of those things. These 5 ways are applicable to all of them. So 5 ways that you can show up fully in 2023. Let's go. Number 1, you got to learn to make peace. Matthew 5:9 says that blessed are the peacemakers, for they are the sons of God, or they will become the sons of God. Blessed are the peacemakers. Now, in context, they are talking about literally people making peace. You know, people making peace and settling quarrels and arguments and all of that stuff. And I started to think about that though. There's some other peace that we need to make. We need to make peace with our past. We're going to have to make peace with 2022, y'all. There are some things that many of us did not accomplish this year that we just really, really, really want to accomplish. So what we have to do is we have to remember, but then we got to go forward. So we got to make peace with what was not. The second thing is we have to learn to make peace with what was. There may have been some things that happened that were totally out of your control. But there may have been some things that happened that were totally because you miscalculated or because you made a mistake. But let me tell you something, y'all, it's water under the bridge. There's nothing that we can do about that now. And so what we have to do is we got to make peace with what has happened in 2022. We got to make peace with who walked away. We got to make peace with what was not. We got to make peace with it, because if not, then what's going to happen is we're going to find ourselves living in a place of regret. And we're going to find ourselves living in a place of nostalgia. You ever meet people and they always talk about how it was and how they were hidden back in the day, right? They always talking about how it went down back in the day. And ain't nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with reminiscing sometimes, because the past can be a great motivator, but you can't live there. Listen to what I'm telling you. The past can be a great motivator, but you can't live there. So the first thing that we got to be able to do if we want to fully show up in 2023 is we got to make peace with what has been, which is 2022. We got to make peace. Number 2, this has been on a sticky note on my refrigerator probably for the last 6 months. And it's something that God said to me one morning, and he simply said, make room. He simply said, make room. He simply said, make room. Go over to James chapter 4, verse 8. James chapter 4, verse 8. I want to read you something. Come close to God with a contrite heart, and he will come close to you. Come close to God with a contrite heart, and he will come close to you. So you're going to have to make room. Your life has been cluttered. If that's you, grab hold of it. If it ain't you and you got it all figured out, then I ain't talking to you right now. But I'm talking to the one where you know your life has been cluttered. I had this conversation with my sister on Christmas Day. And she was telling me, she said, I won't ask you a question because I don't really know if this a thing or not. And you got to kind of understand my sister. My sister has a very interesting life story, a very interesting journey that she's been on. I'm so proud of her because I watched that girl raise them 3 kids by herself, right? And she just figured it out. You know what I'm saying? By the time my sister got married, them kids was already teenagers almost. You know what I'm saying? She had did almost all the heavy lifting. And then when things didn't really work out, she moved back here and she just kept doing, right? And so she said, you know, I was walking through the house the other day, and she has this area where she goes and she reads, and that's where she does her meditation, her Bible study, and that's where she goes and prays and all of this stuff. But she said, B, you know, it was just feeling that the house, not just that area, the house was just feeling kind of cluttered. And she said, and I didn't know what that was all about. And every time I tried to sit down, you know, it didn't feel right. She said, so I got up one morning and I started moving stuff around. I started reorganizing stuff. I started throwing stuff away. And now it feels right. Now it feels like I can go in. And I said, yeah. I said, it happens like that. I said, that just means what that is. When your environment is cluttered, it's kind of like your mind being cluttered. When you got a whole bunch of things on your mind, when you got and I mentioned a few weeks ago, it's kind of like on a computer when you got all those open tabs, right? It's hard for you to focus on what it is that you're trying to focus on. I said your environment, it matters. So what you had to do is you had to make room. You had to make room for the Spirit to flow. You had to make room for your focus. You had to make room, you know, for what it was that you were about to try to dive into. You had to make room for it. And so here in 2023, y'all, we got to make room. We got to declutter our houses. We got to declutter our minds. We got to declutter our schedules, because let's be honest, our schedules, for some of us, is filled up with a whole bunch of social stuff. But then we'll turn around and say we don't really have time to spend with God. We don't have time to spend in prayer. We'll say stuff like, well, I got to get up and go to work. I don't have time to pray for an hour in the morning. But yet you spend, if I looked at your screen time, you've been on social media for 5-6 hours a day, because you going in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out. I wonder what would happen. I wonder what would happen if we took time out throughout the day to pray like that. You know, we pray for 5 minutes here, for 10 minutes there, for 15 minutes there. As soon as God puts something in our heart or drops somebody on our spirit, we go off somewhere and we just sit in our place and we sit at our desk and we say a prayer for them right there. I wonder what it would add up to. See, y'all, the blessing that you want, you got to make room for it. Jabez prayed, you know, God, enlarge my territory. You know, I want you to enlarge me. I want you to enlarge me. And a lot of us, we pray that, but we ain't making room for it. But we're not making room for it. So what are you going to do in 2023 to make room for the results that you want to see? To make room for it. If to live healthier is one of your goals, and you want to, quote, lose weight or whatever it is, or you got some certain clothes that you want to fit in, you got to make room for it. You're going to have to make room for it. So what is it that you need to make room for in 2023? Yeah, I'm talking to you. What is it that you need to make room for? What is it that you've asked God for, that you believe in God for, but you ain't made room for it fully? And you know you haven't made room for it. Hadn't made room for him to speak to you about it. You hadn't made room for him to bring it into your life because you still holding on, because you hadn't made peace. You see how this connected? Number 3, y'all, we got to make time. We got to make time. We got to make time. Right now, Colossians chapter 4, verse 5. Y'all, we got to make time. Conduct yourself with wisdom in your interactions with outsiders. Make the most of each opportunity. We have to make time. There is no way that you can say that you want this or that to manifest in your life and you not making time to work on it. If you want to have a greater level in prayer, then you know what? You're going to have to make time to pray. You're going to have to make time to pray. If you saying, God, I just want you to show me what it is that you want me to do, then guess what? You're going to have to make time to seek God on that. I want my business to go to a different level, and guess what? You're going to have to make time to spend on it, perfecting your craft, honing in on new products, whatever the case is, but you're going to have to make time for it. This the action that James was talking about. This is what action looks like, y'all. It looks like us making peace. It looks like us making room. It looks like us making time. We got to make time. We got to make time. I often tell people that I coach, especially executives, because they all say, I told y'all, they all seem to be coming lately with the same issue. And you know, my schedule is just so busy. And then when we get down to it, y'all, they haven't decluttered their schedule is what the problem is, and they haven't made time. Time is about allocation. Time is not about management, y'all. It's about allocation. It's about what we are willing to allocate time to. If you can allocate 4 or 5 hours of screen time for social media and stuff like that, y'all listen. You can allocate time to work on your dreams. You can allocate time to work on the vision that God gave you. You can allocate time to go volunteer. You can allocate time to serve. You can allocate time for that if you want to. If it's important enough to you, then you'll make time for it. So we got to make time. So number 1, we got to make peace. Number 2, we got to make room. Number 3, we got to make time. Number 4, you got to make connections. Proverbs 27:17 says, iron sharpens iron, so a man sharpens the countenance of his friend. Stephen Covey said it in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and it is still true to this day. The 7th habit is you got to sharpen the saw. Is you got to sharpen the saw. You got to sharpen the saw. And the way that you sharpen the saw is through connection. And we gave the example when we were talking about showing up in your business. There's some explicit knowledge out there that you need to get. There's some connection. There's some networking. There's some things that you need to do. If you want to see your business blow up, then you're going to have to get out there and you got to talk to people. You can't sit in your house like a hermit and expect that everything is just going to fall in your lap and people going to come looking for you. And you know, you're going to have to get out there and you're going to have to engage and you're going to have to make those connections. You're going to have to make a different connection with your kids. You have to make a connection with your kids, different connection with coworkers, with your supervisors, with the people that you serve with in ministry, whatever it is, wherever those connections are, that's how you're going to become sharpened. And so when we begin to make those connections like that, then it begins now to help us connect better to our purpose. And one of the things that many people is missing from their life is they don't understand what in the world that they're here for. They don't understand that there's a divine calling, there's a purpose for each and every last one of us. There's an assignment. There's something that we are supposed to fulfill. It ain't all the same. It is not the same thing for everybody. And you know what? That's okay. Yours don't have to be everybody else's. And that's where we get hung up. See, that's a trick of the enemy, because we'll get into this place called comparison, and we'll start comparing what we doing with what somebody else got going on. But let me tell you something. Go all the way back and go to the YouTube channel and listen to the message if you've never listened to it, Mind Your Business. And we talk about the power of focus. It ain't what you think it is, but it is at the same time. But go back and listen to Mind Your Business, because we talking about the power of focus and how if you focus on what you got going on, man, you ain't thinking about what them people doing over there. You ain't thinking about what they working on. You ain't thinking about none of that, because you focus on your own stuff, because now you're connected to what it is that you work, to what it is that you're working on. You're connected to what you're doing. You're fully invested. Now you're present. Now you're making room for it. You're making peace and you're making time. And now you're connected. And so when you do those first three, now you create the opportunity for you to connect with what you're doing, to connect with people, to connect with new learning. That's what it's all about, y'all. And then number 5, we got to make decisions. There are decisions that we got to make. 2 John chapter 1. There's only one chapter, one book in John. And 2 John. Verse 8, I believe. Verse 8. Yeah, verse 8. Watch yourselves so that you do not lose what we have accomplished together, but that you may receive a full and perfect reward when he grants rewards to faithful believers. Watch yourselves. Watch yourselves so that you don't lose what we've accomplished. Decisions that we make. Y'all, we don't have to make sound decisions. In the abundance of advisors, of wise counsel, there is safety. We're going to have to really look at the decisions that we're making. Are we making decisions that are driven by emotion? Are we making decisions that are driven by the moment? Are we making decisions guided by misinformation? What are we making our decisions based off of? Well, y'all know what I always say. The Bible is the greatest reference book ever created. Got something to say about everything. So if you need a decision-making model, then why not start with the book? Why not start with the book? We have to surround ourselves with wisdom. We have to surround ourselves with people that'll tell us the right things, that'll give us sound counsel. That'll give us sound counsel. But we got to look at the way that we making decisions. We cannot go into 2023 making decisions about our life, about our futures, about our families, haphazardly, about our careers, about our business, about our businesses. Y'all, we can't do it. About our spiritual life, we can't do it just flying by the seat of our pants. Faith, if not accompanied by works, is dead. So 5 ways that you can show up fully in 2023. Number 1, you got to make peace. Number 2, you have to make room. Number 3, you have to make time. Number 4, you have to make connections. And number 5, you got to make good decisions. It's just that simple. And if you're willing to make that investment, because remember I said, action is the investment into what it is that you said you want. If you're willing to make that investment, then you give yourself the opportunity to get the results that you want. You can't complain about the results that you don't get, and you hadn't put the work in to get them. All right, y'all. That's the last Breakfast Club of the year. I hope y'all got something out of this, man. Listen, I'm excited about 2023. I don't know about y'all, but I am excited about 2023 and what it holds. We're going to have some new stuff coming up in the Breakfast Club. I can't wait to share it with y'all. Look for me probably to post something at some point during the weekend. I'll probably do it in a video or whatever, just to really outline, some new stuff, some new ideas and things that I want to be trying, here in the Breakfast Club, because, man, listen, there's so much more that we can do in the group, man. And I just want to, I've already gotten my word, for 2023, and I'm ready. I'm ready to rock and roll, and we about to make some stuff happen, and we about to shake this thing down to the core, because I want to take everything that I have, and I want to make sure that at the end of my life, I've done exactly down to the last detail, just like Jesus said, down to the last detail. I want to have done every single thing that God told me to do. So if God told me to say it, then I'm going to say it in some format or whatever the case is. So be on the lookout for that, man. Y'all have a happy and safe new year. If y'all going to be out and about, man, be careful. Watch your environment. That's a word right there for somebody. Watch your environment. Watch who you rolling with. Y'all be careful out there. Be safe, man. And listen, as we going into this year, remember, faith, if not accompanied by works, is dead. Y'all, it's time to show up. And as we always end the Breakfast Club, y'all didn't think we were going to change it up, did you? You know what we finna say. Come on and say it with me. You can't get strong unless you lift heavy stuff. Y'all be blessed, be encouraged, and always, also, listen. I told y'all I was going to do this every time. If it's been a blessing to you, do something for me. Invite somebody to the group. Share this with you. This message is definitely going on the YouTube channel. So give me a day or so to get it all edited and put together. And if not the whole thing, at least where I talked about the 5 ways that you can show up fully in 2023. And then I just want y'all to share it out. Share it with somebody. Be a blessing to them. All right, y'all. That's the Breakfast Club, man. Y'all stay safe. I love y'all, man. See y'all on the...